stop this healthcare bill. I mean, let's just say, unreal will, we stop it dead cold. Do you think that that would kind of break the back a little bit of this movement toward government control?
I think it would. And, the big election, one of the big things taking place would be that election in Massachusetts day after tomorrow.
Yes.
And that's going to be a key thing. It's going to be, there's still a long, tough fight ahead of us. Even if we do manage to break this, if we can turn enough congressmen, when this healthcare bill comes back out of this resolution that they're in right now between the House and the Senate, they have to send the bill back out to each of the houses for a vote. If we can influence enough senators and enough congressmen to vote against it, that's a possibility. If it does pass, they've written some legislation into it that makes it difficult to repeal, and this is where it goes back to your original question, which questions the constitutionality of the law. And so there's a number of things. One, if it does pass, there's going to be immediate constitutional challenges. Two, if we have enough electoral backlash to where we can repeal it and then override a veto from the president, that's going to be a major piece. But if we can, wherever we defeat it, whether we can weaken it enough to where it can be turned back in, or we can defeat it outright here at this point, we still got a long fight ahead of us because there's, still a lot of bad stuff. But don't get complacent if we do manage to turn it back, and if they do manage to turn it back in the next
That was
couple
my
weeks.
next concern, is do you see complacency arising if we stop?
It's that complacency is always a possibility. Even as fired up as everybody is in here now, if they pass it, between now and November, there's always that possibility of complacency. It does happen, and a good example was this last election day. We had in some cities we only had a 16% turnout for vote. And yes, ma'am.
Do you think the legal actions that the Attorney General are initiating is going to have any kind of an effect on when they might get that passed, or that could slow it down?
I think it will have,
Once it hits the courts?
Yeah, once it hits the courts, I think there will be possibility of stays and injunctions on the law. But there's just so much of it, and unfortunately, we don't even have the full bill out, so nobody can say, okay, yeah, we can kill this thing wholesale in the courts, or they'll kill this piece, but this piece will still be effective. There's a lot of that to be sorted out.
The one aspect that they're going after is like that deal with Nebraska, and whether or not things like that can be brought up to the point where they know that it's never going to pass with that, and they're going to be back to almost step one in negotiating.
Yeah, well, hopefully it will go through. Yes, ma'am.
How much power is in their statement that this can never be overturned? They've got that written into that bill.
They've got portions of it written into the bill, and that actually calls into constitutionality. I forget the exact term of it, but basically, one Congress cannot fully bind future Congresses with an inability to influence. So there's a constitutional question there. The key is who can sue. It has to be either a sitting member of Congress in there now who voted against this and says this is unconstitutional, or a future sitting member of Congress who says they have unfairly or unconstitutionally bound our hands to commit to this course of action, and they can't, basically to pass that kind of a legislation, you have to amend the Constitution that says you cannot do this. You can't
What,
pass
that
a
they
law.
cannot do that, or?
Well, what it means is, for example, the amendment that limited the president to 2 terms. That was a constitutional amendment that said, okay, no future president.
Okay.
Up to then, it had always been precedent from George Washington up till FDR that presidents would only serve 2 terms. Any other questions? How are we doing on time, John? Oh, okay.
I just have on your energy, what do you think about nuclear?
I'm all in favor of nuclear. One of the big issues with nuclear, and it is really unfortunate because a lot of people are very concerned about the spent fuel. But we actually had a nuclear reactor. I believe it was at the University of Chicago. It was a new technology where they were able to reduce the spent fuel by 90%.
He just closed the thing out
And he-
in Nevada.
Yeah, and they closed that, but, no, nuclear is, I mean, even when you, for those who've been to 3 Mile Island, you know, the biggest nuclear accident in the United States, our systems work, you know, and we, our systems have been much better engineered, much better maintained, and they're, you know, they're still the cleanest thing going, the cleanest form of energy going. So I'm in favor of nuclear, we need to rebuild it, but unfortunately, we haven't built a new nuclear plant so long that we no longer even have the technology. Yeah, we no longer have the technology within the United States to build our own. We've gotta go
Westinghouse's
to-
all over the world.
Yeah, we've gotta go
They're a leader in
to,
it.
we've gotta go to Germany and, France to bring back the technology to build them again. Yes, sir.
On the nuclear point, to date, the military started the nuclear power program and is the heartbeat of the nuclear industry that we have today. There have been no major nuclear accidents on any military vessel.
Yeah.
And it's manageable, it's controllable.
Mhm.
It's just that unfortunately, we have a few bureaucrats that are
Oh, yeah.
tinkering
Well,
around.
that gets back to the Department of Energy, and oh, by the way, let's close down the EPA and turn it all back to the states.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
I believe it's true that France generates 95% of the total energy by nuclear.
Yes.
And they haven't had any accidents either.
Yes, they have. Of course, we won't talk about that Soviet Chernobyl thing, but a lot of that had to do with the
Inferior Russian technology.
well, actually, it was probably, given the time that particular plant was built, it was probably a 1940s design stolen from the United States, but then the Russians have traditionally had a problem with maintenance.
Like,
Yes, sir.
When you bring that up about, let's get rid of the, EPA and all that, basically, I just started reading Ron Paul's book on, and the Fed,
Mhm.
and even getting rid of the Fed sounds great and everything, but how practical is that when you've already stated that when you get in there, there's gonna be all these puppeteers that kind of run every politician back there,
No, I was talking about if you impose term limits, that would be full there.
but they're there now then. I mean, if they're already there, and it doesn't matter whether we have term limits,
Oh,
then they're.
there are some, but most of the quote-unquote puppet masters now are actually your majority leaders, people who've been there long-term, who are serving and guiding and mentoring. I'm saying if you cut those guys out, all that would be left would be those long-time chiefs of staff who are totally unaccountable, and that's what concerns me. But with the EPA, Department of Energy, you defund them, you just say, states, you're responsible for enforcing, and then if there's an issue between states, that's where you let the courts, federal courts settle it.
But I guess just practically speaking, how would you go about doing that? I mean, if you went in and you sponsored a bill or something, what other, do you think you're gonna be able to gather enough support from other conservatives or even like-minded moderates to pursue that? Or, there'd be a firestorm from the media against it, and they would start spreading all the lies and everything against that. I mean, do you honestly believe that there would be a glimmer of hope for something like that? I mean, we don't, I'm sure everybody in this room would love it, but what's the possibility?
Well, when you go out, when you do initiate a plan like that, you've got to have, it's not just we're gonna do this, and you've gotta have a set plan that, accounts for those. It's like a political campaign. Yeah, there are possibilities of doing those things, but the main thing is that, we've got all these states, you've got state governments, and you know what, there's a lot of smart people who live in the 50 states, and, there are plenty